Hi friends, today we will be talking about QSR model and validations. So first we will be talking about how to build the QSR model, which we have discussed before. And once we build the QSR model, then how to validate the model. How do we say that the built model, the generated models are good enough and can be implemented and interpreted into the drug development or any pharmaceutical development. So before coming to these junctions, I'll just take you back little where we have discussed about what is the need of doing that, building the QSR models, and how do we do this. So the objective of this model is to build and validate QSR model. So if you see here how the models works, how to design the QSR model in terms of if you have the compound and if you have the biological response of that compounds, which is collected from different resources, from the databases, from the published articles, from the wet lab experiments or cell line studies, enzymatic studies, as in enzyme inhibitors, or any biological response in terms of IC50 value and LD50 values, and even the enzyme inhibitions. So whatever is known for set of compounds, and by taking all these compounds and their activity, how to improve their biological activity by using the computers, by using the scientific knowledge, by using the algorithm, by using the statistical analysis, by using the simulation methods, by using the mathematical methods, by using the chemistry, and many more, which will be responding towards the improved biological activities. So if we see here, so what analogy of this picture, so it looks like a cake and candles, how candles are attached with cakes, that you say the firmly attached, which are showing some response, and these candles you may treat as a drug, and the entire cake you may treat as a receptors, where drugs as well as receptor is showing their response. So these candles we can treat as a compound. So we have the compounds, and that compounds have the biological activities, and by using the computers, by using the QSR studies, we are generating the new compounds but with improved biological activity. So this is overall cycles of QSR models. Why do we need this QSR model? So now just to recall those things which we have discussed about the QSAR, at least at the definition basis, and we have discussed many more methods like 2D QSR method, 3D QSR method, and even pharmacophore based 3D QSR methods. So here one example data sets I'll be taking you to understand that how to analyze the datas, and those datas will be responding to that biological activities, right? So as you know that QSAR is quantitative structure activity relationship, which can be defined in terms of the mathematical functions which correlate wide variety of physiochemical descriptors with biological activities. So here we say that here is the set of compounds are there, and the compound properties are there in terms of the heat of formations, total energy, electronic energy, dipole of that compound, ionization potentials, HOMO, HOMO, highest occupied molecular orbitals, and lowest occupied molecular orbitals, and their HOMO and LOMO differences is the gap, right? And these descriptors we are going to map in terms of how these descriptors will be responding the biological activity. So all descriptors have their experimental biological activities is called the EPIC50 values, and based on this response and based on these descriptors we are going to calculate their predicted biological activity by using the QSAR modeling, right? And that activity will be the improved activities of this biological response as well as the descriptors. So how we are going to do this? So first things is we need to care about the datas. If data sets having the variations among the values, like big variations, like one value of any descriptors which ranges from 1, 10, 100, thousands, and 1 lakh, and so on. That means if any descriptors or data types, data sets have the large variations, those data set can be normalized. Generally here there are different types of normalization methods are there, but here we'll be exploring only two major methods, right? First things which we take to initiate the normalizing the data in terms of their log values minus log of that values. So if suppose that IC50 values have the variations, their value variations are there in the data sets, so we need to normalize by taking their minus log values first. Another method is the minimum and maximum methods. So how to normalize by using these methods? First thing is we have to see that minimum value in the data sets and the maximum value in the data sets. That's why we call that minimum and maximum methods. So what is that normalization methods? X normalization equal to X value, any X value in the data set, minus X minimum of the data set divided by X maximum in the data set minus x minimum of the data set. So this value will be giving the normalized value. First we will do for the one data and we will do for that all the remaining datas for that particular columns. And these things we can do in Excel or any statistical package which you prefer to do that. So this is called the data normalization, these two. Another method is that standard deviation methods are there. Mean, modes, variance methods are there. So those things, but generally we are dealing this minimum two methods which we use for normalizing the data. Now, how to predict the activities? So for this we use little programming which we have demonstrated to you in lab sessions, right? How to generate that predicted biological activity in terms of the PIC50 values. So we'll be generating like these equations, right, based on the descriptors. In that the data set there are two things are there. One is the descriptors and another is the biological response, biological activity. So that's biological activity is the response, and remaining descriptors or remaining data sets is called the descriptors, and these descriptors will be responding to the biological activities, right? And then finally we will have to see the relationship between these descriptors and biological activities. And once we predict the biological activity, then next steps is come that how this experimental biological activities are having the correlations with the predicted biological activities by using the statistical approach. So here we can see that predicted IC50 value has been generated by using the tools, the programmings, the algorithm, and these results give the set of equations in terms of. So here you can say that so minus 1.39 plus 4.26 plus V5CH is a one descriptors which is multiplied by the 4.261 minus 2.87 SNMN is a one descriptors plus 0.0508 SRMX is a one descriptors minus 7.65 SHDW4 is a one descriptors, and so on. This entire equations which is generated by the tools, by the softwares which is responding for that predicted biological activities. So now here you can say the n equal to 78. So what is n? N is the degree of freedoms, and n equal to n minus 1, and n minus 1 is small n minus 1, and small n equal to number of compounds, number of data sets. So number of compounds, what will be the number of compounds? If capital N degree of freedom equal to 78, yes, of course it will be 79, means number of compounds are 79. Now R square value is that correlation coefficients between that biological experimental activities. You can say the experimental biological activities, that we say the EPIC50 value, and predicted biological activity, here we say the PIC50 values. So this is the linear correlations coefficients between the two, experimental biological activity and the predicted biological activities, right, which is only based on the linear equations, is called that y equal to mx plus c, right, as you know. So now S is that standard deviations 0.236 Press is the predicted error sum of a square has been calculated, which is 4.84, which we will be discussing in the later stage. And Q square is that model validation coefficient, which is equal to 0.888. F equal to F statistics. So what is that? Variations are there from the mean is equal to 24.28. But here we need to only focus on R square and Q square values. Q square also is called R square CV. So both the values should be more than 0.5. Then only we can say that the correlation is good, correlation coefficient is good, and validation coefficient is good. So now if suppose the result is not coming as we expected, so there are different ways are there to remove the missing values, zero values, right, from the data sets. And if it doesn't give the good correlations also, then there are many ways for removing that variations, removing large variations from the data sets, in terms of which are giving that variations between the biological activities and the predicted biological activities. So in this stage we use genetic algorithms to understand our data sets. So if suppose large number of data sets are there, so how to deal with those data sets? So of course, rule says if you have the large number of data sets, you divide it randomly into training set and test sets. So training sets, as we have discussed before, is the seen data, and test set is the unseen data. By taking all this environmental variables values which we have used to train our data in the training set, we will be taking all the variables for the test sets. Either those variables will be responding in a similar fashions in the test set or not. And then if you have the validation sets to validate to all the training sets and the test sets, so we can also take the validation sets which will be having set of compounds or data sets to see that how our model is valid. So now here also we can say that some set of data sets, 16 compounds is taken as a validation sets, and which shows that observed activity based on the descriptors and the predicted activities and their errors, and based on this observed and predicted activities, the linear graph has been generated which will show that what is the correlations between the observed activity and the predicted activities, as similar as the in training set data as well as in the test set data. So now how to validate the models in terms of that model validation coefficients. So one term is called the LOO, leave one out methods. So what is the leave one out methods? So once we will predict the biological activities, then we have to find that the variations between that biological activity and the predicted activities, that we say the residual error. If error are more, right, in that case in huge data set we can remove those compound entirely from the data set, and we will mention this. The compounds which is giving more errors have been removed from the data set, and the compound number also we need to mention to get the good R square values. right? So this is called that leave one out methods. And then the how to validate the models. The validation coefficient can be generated by using by these equations, and the validation coefficient is called the R square CV, that is also equivalent to Q square, which is equal to 1 minus press by SSY. So 1 minus what is press? Press is experimental minus predicted biological sum, error sum square, you say that. So experimental minus predicted whole square of all the compounds from 1 to n, and their average value can be taken, which is divided by similar way experimental biological activity minus experimental biological activity mean whole square of average values, which is ranges from 1 to n entire data set. So entire this equations which will be giving the R square CV values, right? And these things already we have already discussed in that lab exercise. We have shown to you how to calculate the R square CV values. Even I have shown to you how to calculate the R square values, and fully I have given the demonstrations to build the QSR models, right? Okay, so now this is easy you to understand these things. So this entire value should be more than 0.5. So if this R square and R square value, R square CV value is more than 0.5, and then those model can be interpreted and then those model can be used for that pharmaceutical developments by saying that these models have that set of compounds, and those compounds are responding that good biological response in terms of whatever is given through the experimental analysis, whatever literature says, whatever the database uh, database datas taken from that source. So now those models can be even used for understanding the mechanism of actions, ligand designings, database search, combinatorial library generations, and the virtual screenings. So now you can understand these things, right, in terms of before the QSR modeling. So what are the steps are there to do it, right? So identifying the target, identifying that molecules, compounds, and then preparations of that target, preparations of the small molecules, and the finding the target site, binding site, and then do the docking studies, interaction studies, and then we have to refine those things. And then if the docking is the first step for the screening. Once the docking results can be analyzed, and if it has been justified that how the docking result is there in terms of their hydrogen bonding, in terms of their docking score, in terms of their binding energy, in terms of bonded interactions, in terms of non-bonded interactions, then only we will come for that QSR models, right? So these are the application is there for like analyzing the QSR models and in the pharmaceutical developments in pharmaceutical industries. So thank you. If you have any questions, you may ask. Thank you.